Flooding fears. I'm Bronson, Woodruff at Oktibbeha County Lake with what's being done to repair the failing dam and its effect on the community.
When the floodwaters were at their highest, employees would park and a boat would be sent over to get them.
Right now there are 6 active pumps working to drain the water from Oktibbeha Lake. You can see these pipes behind me.
I'm Bronson Woodruff with how one church in Mississippi is staying in operation during the coronavirus quarantine.
Waters were really high in parts of Columbus this past week. Some structures were under several feet of water and roads were impassable except by boat. Areas of lower elevation on campus, such as this spot here, are at greater risk of flooding during heavy rains. However, the MSU personnel work to make sure that doesn't happen.
The city of Louisville has big plans for their downtown area. Find out what they are tonight on WCBI News.
The potential failure of the Oktibbeha County Dam has caused quite a stir and has been an inconvenience for nearby residents and travelers.
It puts people, on the edge, and it puts people in a position to where, do I leave home or do I take a chance and stay at home? I can't wait till they fix it, though, because it's a bit of a headache.
The road over the dam is still closed, and travelers have to go around.
This is a high-traveled thoroughfare. It's very inconvenient for people.
Right now, water is being drained from the lake. Kirk Rosenhan is overseeing the process. He shared with me what caused this situation to happen and what's currently being done to the structure.
The photographs show the sloughing, that's the best word I can use, where the entire face of the dam slid off a little bit. And that's what we're concerned with.
Rosenhan tells me when the 479-acre lake lowers to a certain level, they will be able to do what he called a modification to the intake structure.
Right now there are 6 active pumps working to drain the water from Oktibbeha Lake. You can see these pipes behind me. They're pulling water out of the lake, and there's going through these pumps here where it's being carried over and finally expelled out the back here. You can see it running down. It's forming this little river, which is then flowing down that way.
Kristen Campanella is Oktibbeha County's Emergency Management Director. She says they are monitoring the dam around the clock, and the subsiding water levels reduce the threat to the nearby community.
I would like to tell the residents that we're on top of it. I mean, we're doing everything that we can do, I feel like, at this point. As soon as it's coming in, it's pumping it off. So I would say we're in the good for right now.
Water is flowing into the area's natural creek and continuing downstream. For now, the dam remains under surveillance with the promise of stability in its future.
I wish, they'd gone and put a plan in place so that we won't be faced with nothing like this again.
In Starkville, Bronson Woodruff, Take 30 News.
Heavy floods impacted Columbus this past weekend. Neighborhoods were flooded, making it unsafe for some residents to leave their driveways. Meanwhile, the pedestrian bridge at the Columbus Riverwalk was damaged. According to Public Information Officer Joe Dillon, city leaders suspect an unpiloted barge might have collided with one of the bridge's support pillars. Lowndes County EMA Director Cindy Lawrence says damages to the bridge are being examined.
They've closed the bridge presently to pedestrians. No one's allowed to go out, and until they get a quote to determine how much it's going to cost to repair it, no one will be allowed to go to the bridge until it's repaired.
Near the Columbus Riverwalk is a local restaurant that was having its own problems facing the rising water. The workers at Reuben's Catfish and Steakhouse could do nothing as the flood levels approached the front door. Employee Danny Rast says this isn't the first time something like this has happened.
This month last year, we couldn't get in Reuben because of all the water and the flooding. And we know we're not in control, but we know who is. So as you can tell now, that the water is at a standstill, and it's not coming up and it's not coming down. So we're lucky right now because the water's not inside the restaurant. What comes from the north always comes down, and we get the end of the deal down here.
The road to Reuben's Steakhouse was covered in several feet of water, cutting the restaurant off from traffic. If anyone needed to get to the restaurant, they had to go another way.
When the floodwaters were at their highest, employees would park and a boat would be sent over to get them.
Rast says he's disappointed the flooding happened on this particular weekend because they will have to be closed on one of their busiest days of the year.
Affecting everybody right now, especially tomorrow, the biggest holiday of the year, Valentine's, and everybody wants to take their sweetie out and wine and dine them. So you see what we're going to be doing. We're going to be fighting the water.
Rast says the business lost a lot of sales due to being closed on Valentine's Day, but he added that the restaurant did not flood, and he said the business reopened this past Saturday night. Rachel? Wheeler Grove Baptist Church in Kossuth, Mississippi is back in session, but not how you might expect. Wheeler Grove's Adam Fowler says the church is reaching people in a new way.
We have a transmitter that will transmit to their car on 88.9, so they can actually listen inside the car and hear it just like they were inside the sanctuary.
Fowler says this past Sunday was their second drive-in church service. He said the church saw double its attendance this past Sunday than the previous week.
This is an avenue for people to come to church without having to get out of their cars, without having to interact with other people, but they get to interact by honking their horns and being part of the service that way.
Church attendee Kason Woodruff says he enjoys this temporary change more than going inside the church for service.
I loved it more than other church because if you stayed in the car, you can actually just sit there and relax. You can talk to the person sitting beside you whenever there's a break in the preacher's speech, I guess you could say. Preaching, whatever it is.
It's really easy. All you do is pull up in the church parking lot, find a parking spot, and tune your radio to 88.9. Fowler says he thinks the radio service option is making a difference in the community.
I think it is making an impact because we've had several visitors come. We had people contact us last week stating we understand y'all are going to have church. My church is not meeting, and would it be okay if we came to your drive-in church? And of course, everybody's welcome.
The church also streams the service on Facebook, giving people more than one option to participate in Sunday morning service. Reporting in Kossuth, Bronson, Woodruff, Take 30 News.
Welcome back to Take 30 News. An investigation is underway after 2 Alcorn State University students were shot to death Monday night. Mississippi Bureau of Investigation identified the 2 students. If you have a student loan, you are not alone. Take 30's John Lee has more on these events and the impact of Black history in the United States. 2 sisters were killed in a targeted shooting this week on the campus of Texas A&M Commerce. Super Bowl Sunday is one of the busiest days for most pizza chains in America. Take 30's Kelsey Duncan is live at a local restaurant with how much they cashed in on the big game. Kelsey?